Devastation is the only word I could use to describe my experience while watching UFC 316, boys. And I'll be the first person to admit, I was wrong about Sean O'Malley beating Merab. I was wrong about Sean O'Malley getting his belt back. I was wrong about Sean O'Malley becoming the bantamweight GOAT. And it sucks. It really does, because Sean O'Malley is one of my favorite fighters in the UFC, and I actually thought he was doing better than he did in his first fight. Merab got a submission. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But let's talk about the first fight of the night. Vicente Luque versus Kevin Holland, dude. And Kevin Holland gained after submitting Vicente Luque with his own choke, then throwing his mouthpiece into the crowd and shaking hands with Donald Trump. This aura will never be forgotten, dude. And Kevin Holland, yet again, becomes one of my favorite fighters because I love how Kevin Holland fights. I love Kevin Holland's antics in the octagon. But the second this guy steps out of the octagon, he becomes the most annoying, unlikable UFC fighter out there. It is so hard to like Kevin Holland, and it is so hard to root for Kevin Holland going into a fight. But the second that bell rings, dude, you already know I was praying that Kevin Holland could get this finish, and that's exactly what happened. A beautiful dark choke. People are calling it anaconda choke. People are calling it a dark choke. Kevin Holland's calling it a dark man choke. I don't officially know what it was, but that was a sick finish. Kevin Holland to start off the night. The next fight we had was Mario Batista, who I might have to revoke my words on calling him a genuine terrorist of the sport, because what he did to Patchy Mix for 3 rounds, he needs to be jailed. That should be a crime. Patchy Mix, who let this man come into the UFC, talk all this trash, say he was looking past Mario Batista just for this guy to get 30-20'd. That was one of the most one-sided beatdowns I have ever seen. Mario Batista was just spamming 1-2s. Mario Batista looked like he was prime Sean O'Malley. Mario Batista looked out there and was fighting like prime Israel Adesanya, using the leg kicks, popping the 1-2 to the body, nice hook now and then. And Patchy Mix literally was just a human punchy bag. That is simply one of the worst debuts from another country I've seen. Patricio Pitbull, he had some good moments in that fight against Yair Rodriguez. Kevin Holland against MVP beat Kevin Holland. Michael Chandler, he knocked out Dan Hooker his first fight. And Patchy Mix, the kid just got abused. He got I don't even know how to put it. Mario Batista simply just annihilated Patchy Mix. Patchy Mix is a joke, and I don't know what's next for this kid, but he needs to seriously regroup, because if you're coming into the UFC and thinking you're all that, and then you go out there and have that performance, buddy, get out of here, dude. The next fight we had was Kelvin Gastelum versus Joe Pyfer. And listen, kid, Kelvin Gastelum, his chin is really good, but other than that, he's a pretty bad fighter. No, he's actually really good, dude. I actually thought he was about to win that fight in the final round. You know, I think if Kelvin Gastelum was truly disciplined, if he truly fought at 170 and was just disciplined, like I said before, this kid could have been something good. He fought against Israel Adesanya and went life and death with him, being a fat blob at 185. You know, if he really wanted to, I believe he could have made 170. And he could have been a champion there. Call me crazy. Joe Pyfer, though, decent performance. You need to show a little bit more urgency in there, dude. You can't be relying on that one shot to win you a fight, especially against someone like Kelvin Gastelum, who can definitely take those shots. And in the co-main event of the night, we had Juliana Pena taking on Kayla Harrison, dude. And it was a really fun fight, man. I'll tell you that. You know, the antics after this fight with Amanda Nunes coming into the octagon, and they were having a little face-off. You know, Kayla Harrison even said a prayer for Juliana Pena. That's how bad Kayla Harrison did her. She said a prayer for Juliana Pena. Obviously, it was kind of like I don't really know what that was. Americana, a weird Kimura lock that she had on Juliana Pena. It's about to snap her arm in half. Juliana Pena tapped out after like 5 seconds in it. I'm not hating on her. I mean, I would have tapped out too. But it's a good win for Kayla Harrison, dude. And, well, we have a new women's bantamweight champion. Women's MMA, I'm excited for the future of it, dude. I just watched the Bedtime MMA video on how he was talking about how women's MMA is so bad and that he does not care about Amanda Nunes. Well, let me tell you something. I care about Amanda Nunes versus Kayla Harrison, dude. That is a war of a fight, and I'm really excited for that fight. And in terms of the main event, it's time for me to vent to you guys. I made a video. I made several videos this last week, and all of those videos were talking about how Sean O'Malley was going to bounce Merab Dvalishvili's head off the canvas, and obviously that wasn't the case, dude. I got embarrassed. I got embarrassed. Sean O'Malley got embarrassed. We got embarrassed. If you're a Sean O'Malley fan, I put money on Sean O'Malley to win, and he lost, dude. He came up short. And Merab now can finish people, apparently. Merab can finish people. The division's cooked. Shut down the division. Because apparently we're going to get Corey Sandhagen versus Merab Dvalishvili next. Oh, is anyone interested in that fight? Is anyone interested in that fight? I would rather see Pantoja go up and fight Merab. I don't want to see Corey Sandhagen, who is literally just your average striker, go and get ragdolled by Merab again. Especially when Merab can actually finish fights now. Dude, this kid's so good. He's so good. Oh my gosh. The Sean O'Malley, buddy. I don't know what's next for O'Malley, dude. I really don't know what's next for O'Malley. Because what is next for this guy, dude? What is next for Sugar Sean O'Malley when you lose to the same guy twice in dominant fashion? Who is the champion? It reminds me of Max Holloway against Alexander Volkanovski. Max Holloway, after he lost to Volk, what did he have to do? He kind of went on a little run. He won and picked up a couple wins over Yair Rodriguez. He picked up a couple wins over Arnold Allen. Then he went up to fight Justin Gage. You know, he was kind of dancing all over the place. We didn't really know what Max Holloway was supposed to do for his career now after not beating Volk. And that's how I see Sean O'Malley's career going, dude. I don't know what's next for him because there's three options for Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley can go up to 145. He can fight at 145. He can become a featherweight. Sean O'Malley can stay at bantamweight. He can pick up wins over Peter Yan, maybe. He can pick up wins over Corey Sandhagen, maybe. He can pick up wins over Figgy, maybe. Or he can move down to 125, which I do believe is a possibility. I really do believe that is a possibility. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but let's talk about the first possibility, Sean O'Malley moving up to 145. This is a possibility. I think that this might definitely be considered by Sean O'Malley, especially after this fight. And I don't know how he would do. You know, Volk's a great wrestler and he's a great striker. Do I see Sean O'Malley winning that fight? No, I'm going to be honest. But the thing is, Volk's old. Volk's not going to be in that division much longer. Volk's probably going to retire in 1 to 2 more fights. So he doesn't really have to worry about Volk as much. But after Volk, who's probably going to be champion? Movsar Evloev. And you look at Movsar Evloev, and for me at least, I see a lot of similarities in Movsar and Merab. You know, both are overwhelming wrestlers who would just constantly take you down, and both of them have evolving striking. Merab Dvalishvili was kind of piecing up Sean O'Malley in some instances in this fight, and Movsar Evloev, this kid was outstriking Arnold Allen in some instances. This kid was outstriking Diego Lopez in some instances. People don't talk about how their striking is evolving, and it's getting kind of scary because Sean O'Malley is not going to be able to beat Movsar Evloev if his striking is up to date, if his striking is truly just decent. I mean, obviously, Sean O'Malley is a better striker than Movsar Evloev, but in terms of wrestling, Movsar Evloev is just going to shoot a double leg on Sean O'Malley and probably get it. Sean O'Malley cannot deal with these overwhelming grapplers. He cannot. I don't see Sean O'Malley beating Movsar Evloev, and, well, if he's not going to be a champion at 145, I don't see a reason to move up to a division. The other option, the next option, I should say, is that he stays at 135. I talked about it a little bit before. Maybe Sean O'Malley can headline a fight in that main event. Maybe he can be the co-main event of a decent pay-per-view, fighting Peter Yan in a 5-round fight. He can fight Corey Sandhagen, which would be a decently competitive fight. But it would just be interesting to see how he does against those guys, you know, because if Sean O'Malley loses his next fight, which is definitely a possibility, well then, who knows what's going to happen to Sean O'Malley, dude. I say Sean O'Malley definitely needs a layup fight if he wants to stay at bantamweight, maybe a Henry Cejudo. That seems like a pretty easy fight considering Henry Cejudo is definitely on his way out. Maybe a Mario Batista. I mean, Mario Batista definitely deserves a #1 contender fight, so maybe you can do that, a Sean O'Malley versus Mario Batista. Maybe, I don't know, there's not a lot of options for Sean O'Malley at 135, you know. I'd say Sean O'Malley. If I was Sean O'Malley, this was kind of a quick turnaround from UFC 306 to 316. That sounds like cope, guys. It's not cope. But you look at his surgery, dude. He has surgery, a torn labrum. He fixed his torn labrum. He only had like a couple months off to recover, and then he hopped back into a fight. I'm not saying this affected his performance at all. But usually after a big surgery like that, you want to take a couple months off, more than a couple months off, like 6 months off. So for Sean O'Malley, I believe Sean O'Malley should just not fight for the next year, as much as I hate to say it as a Sean O'Malley fan. Take a year off. Regroup. You gotta recruit. Go to Dagestan, dude. That's a joke. But improve your wrestling, improve your takedown defense, improve your striking. Just get sharper on everything. And after a year, we'll see where the division's at. We'll see if Merab's still champion, which he probably will be. We'll see if Peter Yan's coming off a couple losses, if he's coming off a couple wins. We'll see if Corey Sandhagen maybe was able to beat Merab, because that's probably going to be the next fight in the division. We'll see how the division plays out after a year, O'Malley. But just take a year off, dude. You need it. Your aura is completely gone, dude. And the final option for Sean O'Malley, it is to move down to 125 division. I'm not going to talk about this for too long because I don't know how realistic it is. But you look at Sean O'Malley. You look at Sean O'Malley's weight cuts. They're not horrible. They're definitely not as bad as Merab Dvalishvili's. Can he make 125? I know he's 5'11". I know he's super tall. I know he's super big for bantamweight. But when I look at Sean O'Malley's weight cut, I see that it is okay. He has an okay weight cut. Sean O'Malley could shed 5 pounds off pretty easily. He could make it to 130 pretty easily. And those extra 5 pounds, he could maybe, just maybe shed them off. I don't know how reliable he would be making weight, but if he can truly make 125, I do believe he would be a big problem there. I understand O'Malley would literally have to kill his body if he wanted to make 125, but if he's maybe able to just shed off that extra pound, I do believe he could be a problem. We've seen Kayla Harrison literally look like a corpse the other day at weigh-ins, and we've seen what she did to Juliana Pena. So if Sean O'Malley can try to make 125, maybe he looks like a corpse there. I don't know. But if he can make that division, then I do believe that he can be a real problem there. Just beating the likes of maybe Brandon Moreno. That would be a fun matchup. Maybe he can beat the guys like Pantoja. Who knows? He's definitely beating Grennan Revol. There's definitely a lot of fun fights at 125 for him. And I do think if he was to move down a division, if he was to move a division at all, it should be to 125, dude. I don't know. I might be a casual for saying this, but I do believe that he can just maybe shed off those extra couple pounds and make 125. That's a good move for him. And that's going to do it for today's video. I don't know what's next for Sean O'Malley. I'll let you guys decide in the comments below. And thank you much for watching. MMA Outpost out.